You're listening to Edge Radio TV. The views and opinions expressed in this program are that of the hosts or guests, and not the Edge Radio Network or its advertisers or affiliates.
Is an organization. It's a movement. We're talking about unity. We're talking about unity. So we're aimed to taking down the system of race by educating, enlightening, informing, and positively debating with those who have counterviews.
And we're here at Edge Radio Network, where the truth still matters. This is Talk About Unity from Erase Race. I'm with my boy Richard Jennings over here, and we're once again glad to have you back here at Talk About Unity. And we got a different look on our Talk About Unity set today because we're sporting our Team Mel.
Yes.
Breast cancer awareness, and Team Mel. Mel goes for her last treatment today. Mel is my lovely bride, and it's just been awesome what we've had happen. And Vince, you can put up that first graphic there with Team Mel to Team Mel graphic. You'll see, man, we've got way more people than this who are part of Team Mel, and it's just been amazing the amount of support that we've received. And Mel goes in for her last treatment today, chemo treatment, and so she should be ringing the bell, which says she's cancer free, and we're moving on in life. So it's pretty awesome, and it's just been amazing to have the support. You know,
hey, she's got a big team. It says Mel's fight is our fight.
Mel's fight is our
fight. A lot
of
prayers, a lot of support, a lot of come on, girl, finish it up.
Yep, and I had to steal this T-shirt. That's why it's too big. It's like Richard's size, you know. So it's too big for me, but I stole it from Peyton because I lost my Team Mel shirt. What's up with that? I don't know what happened.
Somebody wanted it.
I had my Team Mel shirt. I don't know. Yeah. I couldn't find my Team Mel shirt, but yeah. So she goes in for her final treatment. So that's really a good milestone for us. And I attribute the success because, you know, when people talk about chemo treatment, then people often talk about how bad it is and what it does to them and how bad it makes them feel and all those things. And while Melanie had some challenges, I mean, it's been amazingly smooth. And I attribute that to the fact that we created this team of people who cared, who loved. And I always tell people, love heals. You know, and people that don't have that in their lives. And I'm sure that science and psychologists and everybody else would back this up and say that when you've got a network of people who really care and can show you that they care, it makes a big difference in your physical ability and your health and everything. So it's been great, man. So thank Richard and all the crew and everybody that's part of Team Mel. Send a shout out to you all. It's been awesome. So that's cool.
Blessing. It's an honor to be a part of it. You know, it just reminds me of the prophet Elisha had his servant with him. They're going into town and the enemy's chasing them down. He goes up, wakes up the next morning, and he's walks out of the tent and sees the enemy. Elisha said, "Calm down, son. Lord, open up his eyes so he can see that those that are for us are far greater than those that are against us." And he opened up his eyes and he could see in the heavenlies the warring army of God. And you know, Mel, all she has to do is open up her eyes and see this pink and black, and she realized there's a great big army. There's a big army behind her, and she's gonna make it. This is what a great season to just declare this is the last one. This is the last one.
And it's cool because, you know, in the midst of all this COVID stuff and all of that happening.
Oh man.
I mean, and this is kind of, I think, the answer to the solution for whether it's COVID or whether it's breast cancer. When people can come together, which kind of is the theme of our show today. As we talk about this, the theme of our show today is really about how can we bring about unity? We're talking about unity here.
Yeah.
How can we bring about unity in the midst of all the chaos and the division? Because almost every one of the topics we cover today is going to have this aspect of division that's happening in our country. Because so much of everything that happens in our society today breeds division, increases division and the hostility and the animosity in our country. And so we're going to cover these items, and we'll hit them from that angle to how we can bring about unity. Because at the end of the show, we'll talk about solutions. Because one of the things we don't want to do is just talk about problems without offering solutions. And so we think we've got solutions as well. So Let's cover some of those issues. Tell them what we're going to talk about on our show today, Richard. We got it.
Well, Carla, this is all across America, all across the world, but we're going to talk about the new shooting in the suburb of Minneapolis. Minneapolis has had some problems.
Minneapolis.
And then there's an Army officer that was stopped in uniform by the police, and that's not good. And a Knoxville, Tennessee school shooting with one person dead. A White Lives Matter rally in several cities.
We had Black Lives Matter, now we got White Lives Matter.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of details on it, so I apologize. I mean, I was digging for actual facts, raw data, and not a lot, just a lot of...
It's enough that we got that happening.
A lot of counter-protest of the White Lives Matter rally. The Marines are saying no to the vaccines. That's interesting. And then we're going to talk about the answers and the solutions. A lot of things want to divide us, but we're going to talk about some things that unite us. So it's going to be a good day.
Cool. All right. Well, let's kick it off with this this first one. It's the this 20-year-old Dante Wright was killed in what authorities describe as an accidental shooting. And if you watch the video, which I watched the video, it's just you shake your head and say it's simply sad. It really is sad because you got the aftermath of what happens then. So you got this one event that takes place, but it's not just the event that happens, it's all of the aftermath that happens after.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a little bit of detail on the actual event. And so they pull over this vehicle with the driver, Dante Wright, who's a 20-year-old youngster. Because he's wanted, they've got a warrant out for his arrest, and so they pull him over, and they get him out of the car. And this is the part that they get him out of the car. A police officer handcuffs him, has his hands behind his back, and doesn't handcuff him yet. He's talking to him, and it's like Dante says something. He says something, and the police officer pauses in handcuffing him and starts talking to him, saying, "Don't do it." You hear the sound of "Don't do it." And I guess Dante is saying, man, I don't know what he's saying. So let me speculate. But he's saying something that gets the police officer's attention that stops the police officer from handcuffing him. Because had he been handcuffed, we wouldn't have this.
That's right.
But anyway, so he stops him from handcuffing. And the next thing you know, this guy starts fighting. He starts fighting and he jumps back in the car. He wrestles himself away from the police officer who was handcuffing him. And he jumps back in the car. And while he's jumping back in the car, one police officer is trying to grab him. And another police officer is reaching for her taser. She says, "Taser, taser," and he gets away in the car and he speeds off. And as soon as he is about to press the gas, she shoots him, what she thinks is a taser. What she says she thinks is a taser, because she goes, "Taser, taser," and then as soon as that happens, "I shot him," and she's like, "Oh." And she says, use an expletive. "Oh, I shot him." So kind of that she didn't mean to shoot him. That's what it kind of sounds like. So that's what it looks like. That's the video. And if you look at that, then that's what happens. Of course, they've got that the shooter, the police officer on leave as they look at it administratively. But that's what you see in the video. And so everybody, once again, will have, they had demonstrations. This is not far. This is about 10 miles. It's called Brooklyn Center in Minnesota. It's about 10 miles from Minneapolis. So it's a suburb, basically. And this is where Derek Chauvin trial is happening. So they'd already been having protests. So last night, for the last 2 nights now, they've had big demonstrations in the name of Dante Wright, kind of pretty much like we had with every one of these other shootings. So
Minneapolis is a train wreck. Been that way for a long time. It's just recently showing up in the public eye away from there. But there's so many things that went wrong. There were so many things that went wrong. Pulled him over, knew that he had a warrant. I mean, when you run somebody's tags and it belongs to the car of that person, you automatically know before they even stop you, if you're the owner of that car, what the situation is. But they pull him over. When you start to handcuff somebody, you don't pause.
Yeah.
You don't pause.
He definitely paused in this video. And I went, "Why didn't you put the handcuffs on the guy right there?" Yeah. He paused.
So mistake number 2 is the young man. You don't resist arrest. You already know that they know that your issue, so you go for the ride.
Resisting arrest, does that end up, because that's the question in our society today. Should resisting arrest logically cost you your life?
No.
I mean, some people would say no, and other people would say, yeah, but if you do, then this can happen. I mean, so what do you do? I mean, do you say because why? I don't understand. So if people resist arrest, what should a police officer do then?
I'm not, number one, training failed because you're grabbing you're grabbing a gun instead of a taser. So that's the other problem is they either didn't follow protocol, got distracted, or the training was not followed through. I mean, it's something that should be second nature. Where's your taser? Where's your gun? Those type of things. So there was a fail regarding the training. But going back to Dante, like I've said before on the program many times, I've been stopped or had guns drawn on me 3 different times. One situation in the back of that K5 Blazer, my hands went straight in the air, and when he asked me to get out,
but that's going to be important because we're going to cover one where a guy put his hands in the air and some police officers still got him. That's our next story.
Yeah,
but what I'm saying is, if they resist, what should a police officer do?
I have no idea. I'm not trained, but number one, you have 2 officers there for a reason. Mm-hmm. And he's already got his hands behind his back. Well, how did he get between the officer and the car door? How did he even get to his car door?
Well, they had him up against the car, right at his car door.
Right.
And so his stomach is facing the car door and his hands are behind him, but the police officer is leaning over talking to him, and he's got his hands there. And he's got the cuffs, but he hadn't cuffed him yet. And when you watch these, even after you know the end, you go, all right, this is what you should do right here. And I guess as a Marine, I'm always thinking, all right, what's the next move? What's the next thing to do? And I looked at that and was like, all right, get those cuffs on him, and now you're in control of the situation. Because officers they lose control. Once you lose control, then they act in fear. I think they act out of fear.
I'm not accusing the officer, but my personal experience, I have many guns. I have many handguns. Mm-hmm. Every one of them feels differently.
But is it different than a taser? But
so
here's the deal.
Taser's got to feel different.
But the taser is shaped just like a gun.
That's true. That's true too. That's true too.
The taser company, did you think about that when you created this thing that, a mistake could happen? The police department's got to fix that. Don't buy tasers that are just like the gun.
That's true.
Because surely, and this has probably happened once in every blue moon.
Right.
But yeah, it could be tragic. And I think we don't want to take the chance of that happening. So taser companies, you got to redesign. Police departments, don't buy tasers that look like guns.
Right.
It seems like a simple fix there.
And if you're Dante, go for the ride. Even if you get taken in because of your warrant, just don't resist arrest. Put your hands in the air wherever they tell you. You can live. You can live to live another day, not fight another day. Stay alive.
Hey, we're going to take a break. We come back from the break. While we're on break, I'm going to talk to Vince, our resident youngster.
Yeah,
he's our resident youngster. We're going to ask him what about this situation. We'll have some analysis when we come back from the other side because Richard and I.
We need your help, Vince.
We need our super producer Vince. He's going to come in and we're going to cover that so we can give you all the other side, and then we're going to move on because the next story is really interesting with this Army officer who got stopped by police. And so we're going to cover those things as soon as we come back here on Talk About Unity.
Wow.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Don't push me because I'm close to the edge.
I'm trying not to lose my head.
Hey, this is the Talk About Unity show where I bring the talk.
And I bring the unity.
And together we talk about unity. Unity is what matters.
Come on.
And right now in our country, that's what we've got to do. So we do that here at Talk About Unity on the Edge Radio Network. Be with us every week.
It's going to be awesome. It always is. And I tell you what, the more we seek first to understand, then be understood, we make progress.
And we like to do that. And that's why everybody's on the brink. We love what we do at Edge Radio because everybody's on the edge. We bring them back from the edge and we bring the unity. So we're just glad to Edge Radio Network every Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. Talk About Unity because here at Edge Radio Network, truth still matters.
Edge Radio TV is holding auditions for new show hosts. Are you a subject matter expert, professional, influencer, book author, thought leader, or business owner with an educational or motivational platform? Then we want to meet you. Send a link of some of your work to edgeradio20@gmail.com and be sure to put audition in the subject line. Join the Edge Radio TV family. Edge TV, because truth still matters.
And we're back here to talk about unity. And while we were on our break, then we talked to our super producer Vince and got his viewpoint on the thing that we just talked about. Dante Wright, the 20-year-old in Brooklyn Center, Minneapolis, Brooklyn Center, a suburb of Minneapolis, who was actually shot and killed by police 2 days ago, and the subject of many protests. And he was seen on video resisting the arrest, and the officer then pulled what she described as what she thought was her taser, shot him. It was actually the gun. So we were asking Vince, and Vince was saying, he didn't think it was an accident. He thought that was probably something that she knew she was doing. If you look at the video, you can make your own judgment about that. So we were asking about what is the level of resistance where you let him go? Because Vince was saying, live to pursue another day. Mm-hmm. And so he's got the idea of live and let live. So that probably works good when you're in fact, and he made this point that when your life is not threatened. And that's tough for a police officer to determine when is your life really threatened, because we know police officers die every year in great numbers. Police officers are shot by people that they're attempting to arrest. And so that's a hard decision. And if you're a cop on the scene, it's got to be very difficult. So these things are tough. And I think you need a lot of things in place. You need great leadership, number one. You need great training. And you need people who understand, as a Marine, one of the things, and as a Marine, when we were in combat in Iraq, I used to tell my people, there's no way that any of us are going to shoot an innocent civilian. I said, in other words, and my people hated me for this, but I said, we will always be shot at before we shoot, because we got to be sure that our lives are in danger, because the worst thing you could have in your life, and I always tell people this, people make killing seem like it's an easy thing to do. You kill somebody, your life has changed forever. So both these police officers and even some of the victims of some of these shootings, that's the worst thing you want to do, is actually have a killing in your psyche for the rest of your life. You really don't want to do that. So that's my thought. What do you think?
Well,
we'll move on to this next one.
Miss Potter was on the force for 26 years. Mm-hmm. And I just can't imagine. There was this abrupt change to the situation. I don't know. Can't speak to it. Wasn't there. But been on the force for 26 years and then made this accident. Mm-hmm. So it just, to me, reinforced training over and over and over, role-playing those different scenarios because, whether it was lack of training or distraction, don't know. But it's a tragic event. This young man's dead. So
y'all go online there and check out that video. Then comment and let us know if you think it was an accident. Because that's what they're going with. And she's been put on administrative leave.
Right.
So, hey, now let's go to this next one, which is pretty interesting.
Wow.
An Army officer being held at gunpoint during a traffic stop. and it, and now one of the end results of it is, of course, that the police officer who was doing most of the talking there got fired. Got fired immediately, and so the video is crazy. And so we're gonna cut to and play this video so you can check it out, and we're gonna talk about it after we get through watching the video. So let's go ahead and roll that video, and then we'll talk about it.
Procedure 23 in Operation CBS.
Temple.
Speeds are 18. Vehicles changing lanes.
Put your hands out the window!
Come around your side.
See your hands! How many occupants are in the vehicle? How many occupants are in your vehicle? Open the door slowly and step out. Open the door. Get out the car! Open the door slowly and get out!
Get out of the car now!
Open the door, get out the car!
Hold still, hold. Keep your hands outside the window. Keep your hands outside the window. Get out of the car now!
Get out of the car!
Now! Get out of the car now! Get out of the car now! Yo, what? Guess what? I'm a veteran too. I learned to obey. Get out of the car! Get out of the car now! What's going on is you're fixing to ride the lightning, son. Get out of the car now! Get out of the car now! Get out of the car!
Sir, just get out the car! Work with us and we'll talk to you. Get out the car!
You received an order. Obey it.
I'm honestly afraid to get out. Can I?
Yeah, you should be. Get out.
What's
Get out.
going on?
Get out the car!
Get out
I
now.
have not committed any crime.
You're being stopped for a traffic violation. You're not cooperating at this point right now. You're under arrest
For a
for.
traffic-
You're being detained. Okay. You're being detained for obstruction of justice.
Traffic violation. I do not have to get out this vehicle. You haven't even told
Really?
me why I'm being stopped.
Really?
Get your
Get
hands.
out. Get out of the car now. Get out of the car.
Get your hands off me.
Get out of
please.
the-
Get your hands off me.
You know what?
Get your hands off me.
Not a
Get your
problem.
hands off me.
Back up,
I
Daniel.
didn't do anything. Don't do that.
Sir!
Get out of the car now.
Hey, sir!
Get out of the car now.
Sir, look.
I'm trying to talk
Get out.
to you.
Okay.
I'm trying to
I'm gonna
talk.
talk.
Get out.
Just get out of
Relax.
my car.
Can you please
Get out.
relax? Can
Get
you
out.
Please relax.
Get out of the car right now.
This
Now.
is not how you treat a vet. I'm actively serving this country, and this is how you're gonna treat me.
Back up, Daniel.
I didn't do anything.
Back up.
Whoa, hold on.
Daniel.
What's going? Hold on. You out here?
Get out of the car. Get out of the car now.
That's fucked up.
Get out of the car now.
Sir, just get out the car!
I'm trying to breathe.
Get out of the car now.
That's fucked up. That's really fucked up.
Yeah, get out of the car and get on the ground now. You're gonna get it again.
I don't even want to reach my seatbelt. Can you?
Take your seatbelt off and get out of the car.
Can you please?
Get out of the car now. Listen, take off your seatbelt and get out of the car.
Look, I'm just gonna please.
You're gonna do what you're told. Get out of the car.
Look,
Take your seatbelt off and get out of the.
Look.
Take your seatbelt off
Look, my hands are out.
Take your seatbelt off and get out of the car.
My hands are out.
Don't reach in there, Daniel. Don't reach in there.
My hands are out. Please. Please, look. This is really messed up. My dog is in the back. My dog is choking right now.
Get out of the car. Take your seatbelt off. What are you, a specialist, corporal? What are you?
I'm a lieutenant.
Lieutenant, get out of the car. Take your seatbelt off and get out of the car. You made this way more difficult than it had to be if you just complied. Get out of the car.
I'm reaching for my seatbelt.
Fine. Take your seatbelt off and get out of the car. Straight onto the ground. Straight onto the ground.
Ma'am. Is your commanding officer available?
Down. Let's go.
Is your commanding
Let's
officer
go.
available?
Get on the ground. Get on the
Can you
ground.
please talk to
Get
me
on the
about what's
ground
going
now.
on?
Get on the ground and you're getting sprayed again. Get on the ground.
Can you please talk to me about what's
Get
going
on the ground. Get on the ground now.
Can you please talk to me about what's going on? Can you please talk to me about what's going on? Can you please talk to me about what's going on? Why am I being treated like this? Why?
Because you're not cooperating. Get on the ground.
Why am I being treated like this? This is really messed up. This is really messed up.
Sorry, well, just
This is fucked up. This is fucked up. This is fucked up. This is fucked up.
Wow. Okay, I can take these off. I'm done with that.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a pretty amazing. All right, so what do you think? What's the problem with that, Richard?
There's problems all the way around. Number one, the police could have done a better job de-escalating the situation. You go in there, you have a person who's identified as a military officer, and we're going to pepper spray him as he's in the car. All they had to do is...
And not only that, with his hands showing. I mean, you got the hands showing. So, I mean, he's not doing anything. Really, there's no threat. So, and I didn't get that from the beginning. Yelling,
right.
You pull the guy over because now supposedly they pulled him over because there was no tag. It was a brand new SUV. He had a temporary tag in the windshield. All right, so they could, of course, can't see that from behind.
Right.
And so then when they pull over this SUV, are there assumptions being made already? I mean, weapons out?
No, there are assumptions that are being made by the police on every time a car is pulled over that doesn't have tags, because a lot of times in the course of a robbery, they don't want the vehicle to be identified, so they either have bogus tags or no tags. And so the first rattle out of the box is there could be something serious going on with this vehicle being used in a robbery or something. So, but when they pull him over and they see he's in Army fatigues, something ought to tell you there's something not quite right with the story of this being as bad as we thought it was.
Well, and the other thing is, I mean, I can't believe police officers can't survey a scene better than that quickly and make an assessment, which is what they should be required to do. I mean, because first thing, you're driving, you see a vehicle, no tags. Maybe as a police officer, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to speed up and go forward to see if this is a new vehicle and if there's a tag in the window. I mean, it seems like, and then surely if I don't do that, I'm going to pull the vehicle over. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to walk around the vehicle to see so that I can determine maybe, number one, I want an assessment of who's inside the vehicle. And I mean, when I've been pulled over, these cops can do that too without the driver of the vehicle actually seeing them, knowing where they are. They do the right angle. They know how to do that.
Sure.
So they could make that assessment. I just can't believe that they're not professional enough to make that assessment. But instead, they get out and they're being very aggressive, weapons drawn, get out of the car, and yelling at him. And I'm going, you haven't done an assessment. You got to do an assessment before you can determine, do I need this level of aggression, yeah.
Oh, man. But as an officer, as a person in the military, he obviously knows how to take orders.
Yes.
And so, lay down the ground. Okay. And then the end of the story. Do whatever you feel like you need to do. He knows he's not done anything wrong, so it could have been de-escalated on both sides. But it's a tragedy, and the man lost his job, right?
Yeah. Well, the one police officer did, but I find this one much more egregious than the previous one that we watched.
Sure.
Because in that one, you had some reason to believe, or at least you could be suspect that this person was resisting and could do violence.
It's already had a warrant.
In this one, they already had a warrant for his arrest, and so and then when he resists, yeah, you got reason, and so something could happen.
Right.
All right. So you got a better percentage chance that something bad could happen. But in this one, you have no reason at any point. His arms are totally displayed. You have no reason to believe. And I really didn't like the fact when he said, you know, and he talked about what rank are you, and he said, "What are you, a specialist?" And it's like, you know. So he can't be an officer. Why didn't you say, "What are you, lieutenant?" Well, you didn't say, "What are you, a captain, a colonel?" You didn't say anything like that. So he's already got some issues going on there. So.
You know, and the other thing is you can't really expect compliance and attention when you've pepper sprayed the guy in the eyes. He's not thinking about what you're saying. He's thinking about how bad his eyes are burning, how he can't breathe. So it could have been de-escalated on all sides, but it's just a tragedy. And you know, there's
when you say on all sides, what do you mean all sides? Because there's nothing else that guy could have done.
Well, he could have complied immediately. Well, get out of the vehicle.
Wait, but you don't understand him. But he was
wrong.
displaying his hands,
right? Because
remember, Philando Castile. That's mean. See, now when we talked about grouping, these are some that you would group. This would be grouped with Philando Castile. Philando Castile was the guy in, I think he was Minnesota, and he was in Minnesota. And this is more than a year and a half ago. Philando Castile was sitting in his car, and he said to the police officer, "I have a weapon." And they had weapons drawn, and he said, "I have a weapon." And they told him to get out of the car. When he went to reach for his seatbelt, they shot him. They shot him. And those officers got cleared. And I'm like, how could they get cleared on that? Because he did nothing but reach. He was getting out, and they shot him. So that was crazy. All right, so, man, so I can understand. And, you know, a lot of people are doing that these days. They're displaying their hands to make sure you got no reason, you know.
That's right.
And they, because in that community, they're saying, as soon as they tell me, reach for, undo your seatbelt, I reach for my seatbelt, they can say, he was going for a gun. And then they're shot. So, yeah. So, all right. So we're going to cover, so we got lots more to cover today.
That's right.
And we'll get some.
Tragedy.
You know, during our break, we'll go to our youngster at large here and get more info. And we'll be back after this break. Talk about unity.
Edge Radio TV is holding auditions for new show hosts. Are you a subject matter expert, professional, influencer, book author, thought leader, or business owner with an educational or motivational platform? Then we want to meet you. Send a link of some of your work to edgeradio20@gmail.com and be sure to put audition in the subject line. Join the Edge Radio TV family. Edge TV, because truth still matters.
And we just took a break from the halftime show, which is part of our show now, which we should have recorded that.
Yeah,
so we can
good.
play it back for y'all. So we were talking about this thing about what is reasonable once someone resists an officer, once someone resists a police officer. And so that's a really good subject of debate. We might have to cover that on our show next week where we can talk about that.
When an officer's life is in danger, the suspect pulls a gun on an officer, good chance that suspect is going to get shot. But there's a lot of incidents that could have been de-escalated. Actually use a taser. That's why they have non-lethal force weapons at their disposal. So probably a lot more training. Maybe, like you said, redesign the taser so that they look and feel like a gun.
You know one thing that never happens in our country that we never talk about? We never have a blow up over a police officer getting shot and analyzing what happened there. And see, that's the part that most people don't see. We never have these big discussions about why this police officer got shot and why he's dead and why his family's having to mourn. We have a big one when a citizen, of course, gets shot, and we scrutinize the police and what they did, but we never do that with a police officer. So we don't understand the extreme pressure that they're under. And this does not excuse them when they're doing something unjust, like I thought with the lieutenant there. I thought that was crazy. And so we got to be able to do both. We got to be able to have righteous adjudication when a police officer is wrong, and we also got to have an understanding when a police officer takes action that they need to take.
And I don't think there's enough attention in the black community when someone is shot in the community by another citizen in the community. There needs to be a lot of outrage over that as well.
Well, see, then that's a fight because there needs to be. All right, so and that's the issue. We had to have a show to cover that too, because they talk about how you can have 12 people killed in Chicago in one weekend, and an officer shooting that happened 2 months ago, and that will get more.
Well, those 12 lives are valuable, precious,
and that's a big thing to get people to understand that.
Right.
So we got to do some education on that.
That's
All right, let's move on to Knoxville, Tennessee.
Wow. And
we had a school shooting that happened, and so you see on the graphic there's a lot of school shootings and shootings. We've had quite a few mass shootings here lately.
That's right.
But we're going to cover some of the details in this thing are kind of sketchy. But what we do know is that the gunman, who was actually a student at the school, is one who ended up dying at the scene. Not a whole lot of details on what happened, but the officers found the student in the restroom, and they ordered the student to come out. The student, and this is what's crazy, the student starts shooting.
Oh my gosh!
So, which means the student then had a weapon there in the school. So you got weapons in the classroom, or weapons in the school for sure. And at the end of the day, they ended up shooting him. And so that's it. And they said that looks like there was nothing else going on, no other students involved. But that's the end of that. So a school shooting.
My first thing I'll run to is really what is exacerbating the situation. What is causing there to be more of these shootings than in the past? I think a lot of it has to do with, and this is not really the main part of our discussion today, but it is a contributing factor, is the violent video games. We talked about Grand Theft Auto last week, and then Fortnite and Call of Duty, and this hours upon hours, these kids playing these video games, and what are they doing? They're actually shooting their opponent on these games. They're getting the kill, winning the game, because of how many people they killed in the game. Well, then it's not a big leap to say that this could carry over into their actual life with guns that are left unsecured, and not enough metal detectors or policing on the grounds to see if students are carrying weapons.
And we're going to cover some of the solutions at the end of the show, but I think this is like so many other things. We've got issues.
Yeah.
The people have issues. There's this guy, Jordan Peterson. I don't know if you've ever listened to Jordan Peterson, but he goes out, and that's what he talks about. He's a clinical psychologist, and he just talks about the mental state of human beings. And I was listening to a guy who's talking about brain health, and we've got a lot of issues that are not being addressed. And, when you go through something that we've done the last year and a half with this pandemic, it wreaks a lot of mental havoc on people.
Yes, it does.
And people are having trouble at home, those people who are going to work. And so you've got a lot of these shootings that are happening in the workplace. You got at home, you got abuse happening at home.
Right.
And so we're just in a bad place, and we need and we'll talk about, we got Natural Nation coming up after this, and so hopefully Oscar's got some of these answers so we can get people better, to heal us naturally, and
That's
so we
right.
need some things we need to do. So that's it. And remember, our theme of our show is about some of this division that's happening in our country. And so there's nothing bigger, no bigger way to divide us than take something that somebody's doing like Black Lives Matter, and let's create something on the other side called White Lives Matter. And so this happened this past weekend. All right. So
Oh my goodness.
there were White Lives Matters rallies scheduled around the country. And evidently, most people haven't gotten on the bandwagon of White Lives Matter like Black Lives Matter. So the protests were scantily attended. So nobody was really there. But here's the deal. And this is what I always say about if people are doing something crazy that you're against, don't legitimize them.
No.
And so what I see happen at the White Lives Matter is counter protesters showed up.
300.
Three times as many of those people showed up. But, Black Lives Matter showed up in 3 times the force.
Yeah.
And so what are you going to have? You're going to have this. You make
mess.
their cause make the news is a lot bigger. Whereas if you hadn't said anything, White Lives Matter, 2-3 people attended a rally. It wouldn't even make the news. Nobody would have cared. But now it's national news, and we got the White Lives Matter rallies.
Just ridiculous. The counter protest really vastly outnumbered. And looking for the data, they said there's many of these planned all across the United States. If you guys that are watching this or listening to this, please let me know where's the data on that, because I couldn't find anything. There's so many. There's gobs of these rallies planned. I didn't see any. And there's all these people showing up. No, you look at the pictures. It's a handful of people, but all these counter protesters. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. I can't wait till we get to talking about the solutions, because I have some solutions for this nonsense.
All right. Yep, just more of the division that's happening in our country. This thing happens. All right, let's talk about the Marine Corps and their Marines.
Mm-hmm.
Marines say no vaccine. Marines say no vaccine. Now, this is, of course, because I'm a Marine. And the mentality, and this is one, I can easily understand it. Marines, when everybody else is doing something, the Marines are the people who go, I'm not with that. And Marines going to chart their own way. I mean, they really are.
Yeah.
We're stubborn, we're hard-headed, and we're going to do the thing that we want to do regardless of what you think is best. Marines are going to do their thing. If Marines don't want to take the vaccine, because one of the things that's happened out of this is they're thinking that maybe President Biden needs to enact something that requires all military personnel to take the vaccine. And I was like, you don't want to do that with the Marines.
Right.
The Marines will double down and go, absolutely not. He's trying to make me now, which is totally now. But if you get that comment out of the Marine Corps who says take it, they'll be like, all right, we got to do this.
Right.
But as long as they're not doing that, Marines are saying no way.
Well, I mean, just think of it. None of these vaccines, they've all been rushed through production. None of them are FDA approved. None of the companies that are developing these vaccines can be held accountable criminally or civilly. And now today, this morning driving in, we see that Johnson & Johnson has just put the brakes on their vaccine because of blood clots. And so I know it's only 6 people that have been affected directly because of these blood clots, but they said out of an abundance of caution, they're pausing their vaccine. So without clinical trials, without it being FDA approved, there's a lot of people that are hesitant. A lot of data says that people aren't being injured, but if you're one of those 6, that's a tough deal.
Yeah, we talked last week about vaccine passports and whether or not, because in Texas and in Florida, the governors made laws where
shut it down.
you can't require information about whether or not people have been vaccinated, because just as we're talking about division in our country, this is another one of the things that has created a divide.
Right.
Because now you got the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated. And so people are using that as another way to divide. So it's just another one of these issues that we got.
Well, and here's the slippery slope a little bit regarding if they required everybody in all of our armed forces to get this vaccine, and all of a sudden there is something wrong with it that shows up 6 months down the road, and then all of our military personnel have compromised health situations, that could really put us at a national risk.
Yeah. In our readiness. Okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to cover this issue we should have covered when we covered the White Lives Matter thing. We're gonna cover the Black Lives Matter millionaires. And this is what we're gonna cover, and we're gonna cover this. Then we're gonna take a break, and we're gonna come back with the solutions in the last part of the show. So let's cover that. So Patrisse Cullors, who's one of the founders of Black Lives Matter,
Right.
has evidently spent close to, I guess, $3 million on
3.2.
houses.
Right.
One of the houses, 1.4 million, and some other houses.
Mhm.
And so people are questioning how she got these houses, and where that money came from. Because people all along have been saying, not only where is Black Lives Matter getting their money, but what are they doing with it?
Right.
So what do you think is going on? Patrisse Cullors, everybody's wondering, why are you getting in LA buying a multi-million-dollar house in LA? What's up with that?
Well, there should be financial accountability in their organization. If you're a supporter of that organization, then there's nothing wrong with asking, what are you doing with the money?
Mm-hmm.
I've not been a Black Lives Matter supporter in the past,
say,
not
"Show
because
me
I
the
don't
money."
believe in Black Lives Matter. It's just Black Lives Inc. I have some issues with some of the things that they've pushed and some of the things that they said. So,
Well, I'm race. I don't believe in black at all, black or white.
yeah,
So there's no such thing as black or white. We're just humans. Sorry.
100%. I'm with you on that. But I think what's so important is that the people that are supporting these organizations, or this particular organization, if they have questions, they should be able to ask for those answers and get those answers, and the founders not be offended by it. Because I mean, if they want to give a lucrative executive compensation package for those founders, and those supporters believe in it, hey, go buy your $3.2 million homes, whatever. But bottom line is, if there's not transparency, they may have some difficulties with their supporters.
Yeah, and this is one of the conspiracies I'm going to throw at you before we go to our break here, is that I think it's China.
Yeah.
I think it's China. China's funding them. China's funding the division. Guess what? Check this out. China's probably funding Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, Antifa, Proud Boys. China's funding them all. What does that do? It keeps us at enmity with each other in the country, and we crumble from the inside.
The Indian chief said, when you realize that the left wing and the right wing were all a part of the same bird, your eyes will be open. Right?
Yeah. China knows, and that's what they're doing. All right. So regardless of who's funding it, what's happening, when we come back, we got answers and we got solutions that we're going to need in this country. And so we'll have that when we come back here on Talk About Unity.
Hey y'all, I'm Robin B.
And I'm Dr. Kiva.
And we just want to know
how you living.
Join us every Monday
at noon Central Standard Time
here on Edge Radio TV. Take care.
When people stop talking to each other, society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
We're back. We got answers.
We're back.
We got solutions. And this, as we close out the show, that's what we're going to talk about. And we ask, one of the key things about solutions is that when you offer solutions, I always say that the best solutions come about from not just one person's ideas, but about a lot of people in the room together talking about these things, creating what I call collaborative solutions. And so when I offer these, it's to make you think that maybe I have something to offer to the solutions. And I think that's going to ultimately be the answer, that we have a lot of people offering solutions that all work together to fix these problems that we've got. So Richard, what do you think? How are we going to do, what are some of the solutions? And what do you think needs to happen for us to fix what we think is a problem of division in this country?
First, we have to get out of our own cultural box and norms.
Get out the box. I like that. Get out the box.
Blow up the box.
Blow up the box.
And really be intentional about connecting with people that think differently, look differently, act differently, have lived differently than you. And just admit the fact that we probably see things differently than other people do. Mm-hmm. And in those relationships, first admit, I have blind spots. I know I don't see things from a perspective that a lot of other people do. And in relationship, if I say something or do something that you misperceive or that you take differently than the way I said it, if I say something that's offensive, or people use something that's racist, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of just saying, hey, that's racist, or hey, that's wrong, then why not approach me and say, hey, you know how that came across? You know what my take was on that? Have you ever thought about maybe saying it differently? Because that just kind of rubs me the wrong way. I think in good relationships always have boundaries, always have healthy boundaries, and ones that we all adhere to. We treat people, we teach people how to treat us by the boundaries we set and the ones we don't set. And we need to open that up to our friends and those that we have a relationship with and say, hey, tell me.
To use that keyword relationship. So how do you get people who are not in relationship? Because I think that's part of our problem. Mm-hmm. How do you get them to enter into that relationship? Because you got sides. You got Black Lives Matter and White Lives Matter.
Right.
How can those people enter into a relationship?
They may never. Relationship is all about proximity. We have to be close enough to each other in physical distance to be able to have a conversation. So how do you get people of very different opinions to actually get at the same table? You may never. As a pastor of a multicultural church, one of the things that we love is we have small groups. And we don't make people go to a small group, but all we say is, take people on the journey with you that are in a similar season. Just be intentional about open up the invitation to just include other people. And it doesn't always happen. Sometimes the groups look very sterile and really like a monotone kind of thing. But every once in a while, like Monday Night Football small group, or golf small group, or dominoes small group, whatever. Then all of a sudden you have a lot of different people in the room, and it might just start off as a conversation about talking about who was drafted or something that they saw on the news, and that enters into a conversation which builds a perspective of where people are coming from. You may never know, but there has to be a starting place.
And I think and here's a point with Black Lives and White Lives. There's no starting place for them, and there's no starting place. There's no dialogue. There's no conversation. There's no talk that happens. And so that's what we're doing in Erase Race. We're saying, and that's why I love the theme behind Edge Radio Network, because you got people on the edges, and somebody's got to stand in the middle, and bring them together.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to do. And that's why we talk about these type of things on the show, because somebody's got to be out there reaching and grabbing those people. And what does that mean? That means that you got to have a level of civility with both camps.
Right.
When you stand in the middle, because you can't so distance yourself from the right or the left that you disenfranchise them and don't give them the opportunity to come together. And so that's what we're doing in Erase Race. And that's why I have the viewpoints that I do on so many of these things, where I don't want to offend either side, because I want both of them to come together. And while offensive things may happen, then when we come together, we can resolve this. And so my whole pitch is, let us consider one another. That's Hebrews 10:24 says, let us consider one another. That consider word is huge, because it means think about, pay attention to, you'll give ear to, let's consider one another.
Right.
And then to provoke unto love and good works. I mean, really, if we can get people to do that and say, what can we do good together, then we're going to have a lot more love for each other. So that's kind of what we're heading.
Romans 2:4, Paul says that it's the goodness of God, the kindness of God that leads a man to repentance. I've been living in this place of tired of seeing this fight and these these looks on people's faces like, oh no, here he comes, right? I have a shirt that says free. I had to change it because it used to just say free hugs. Now it says free non-creepy hugs. And so when I go to the gym, I'm just very intentional about being fully present. In my gym, there is the sea of humanity. Everybody's there, big, tall, short, small, old, young, and everything in between. And just to be able to say, hey, you're using that machine. Hey, yeah, hey, good workout. Just talking. And I was wearing the free non-creepy hug shirt in the mall one day, and this lady, she goes, "Are you serious?" I go, "What do you mean?" "Yeah, your shirt. Are you serious?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm serious." And she gives me this great big hug. And her daughter was like, Mom, don't be weird, Mom. And it was just like, don't mess up, Mom. This is awesome. Why can't we just choose to first believe in the best in others before we automatically label them? Just be nice.
We can't do that because China's got us thinking bad about each other. China's got us thinking bad. All right. So, but on Talk About Unity, we're glad you tuned in today. And remember, Talk About Unity, that's what we're doing here at Edge Radio Network. We're taking people from the edge and bringing them back to a state of unity. So let's talk about that. And we'll see you next week here on Talk About Unity.
Good job.